When Second Lieutenant Chloe Ambroise tore the recruitment notice from the Navy base wall, she thought she was signing up for grueling labor, sleepless nights, and relentless torment under Archduke Curtis Shanberg. She never expected to become his fiancée. A recruitment notice hung on the wall of the Navy base, seeking someone to work directly under Archduke Curtis Shanberg, the renowned hero of the kingdom's army, and the handsome Archduke. The soldiers gathered around the notice exchanged knowing glances, whispering about the Archduke's terrible personality. The poster's presence at their base spoke volumes. No one wanted the position. In the background, a female soldier approached the notice. Her eyes widened at the promise of 200% quarterly incentives. Without hesitation, she grabbed the notice from the wall. The other soldiers watched in shock as she declared her intention to apply. They warned her of the difficulties ahead, but her mind was set. She thought of her struggling family and reasoned that with such payment, they wouldn't have to worry about food or shelter for the season. How hard could it be? She thought, her only motivation being to ensure her family wouldn't starve. Second Lieutenant Chloe Ambroise now found herself training in the palace, already exhausted from serving under Curtis Shanberg. No one had lasted more than 2 months under this man, who conducted service inspections that felt more like punishments. Yet Chloe endured it all because the money came in regularly. As his aide, she was forced to work overtime whenever the general did, which was often. Brigadier General Curtis Shanberg, the king's brother, an archduke, and Chloe's direct superior, was obsessed with working late hours. He imposed harsh punishments for any hint of lacking discipline, including falling asleep on duty. After 3 months of service, Chloe had contemplated both assassinating the Archduke and leaping from the barracks window. Yet somehow she persevered. Now Chloe found herself facing punishment for mocking the Archduke's disciplinary methods. Though she apologized and offered to extend her punishment, the Archduke declared that after 3 months she had grown accustomed to the standard penalties. Instead, he would cut her pay. Before Chloe could process this shock, he informed her that she would be assisting him at a diplomatic banquet with the Duke of Glintland that very evening. When she expressed concern about lacking appropriate attire, he instructed her to wear her Royal Guard uniform and meet him at his residence. Upon arriving at the Archduke's mansion, Chloe was awestruck by its grandeur, which dwarfed her family home many times over. An attendant revealed to her that the Archduke was determined to have a female aide by his side that night. The banquet was essentially a matchmaking event where he was to meet the Duchess of Glintland. The attendant explained that the Archduke faced pressure to marry due to weaknesses in his lineage. When Curtis appeared, Chloe noticed they wore similar attire, though they presented vastly different appearances. He immediately scolded her for being late, for her wrinkled uniform, and for not wearing ceremonial decorations. To her surprise, he removed his own brooch and pinned it to her uniform. Chloe wondered at this unusual kindness as they departed for the ceremony. At the banquet, Chloe gazed in wonder at the lavish decorations. They soon encountered the king, who had been seeking the Archduke. The monarch presented Curtis with a portrait of Duchess Isabel of Glintland, his intended bride. Curtis flatly refused the match. Despite the king's insistence on a royal marriage befitting the king's brother, Curtis countered that it wouldn't truly be a royal marriage since his surname wasn't Ivanez. He added that the Duchess wasn't his type, and he would make his own decisions. When the king argued that Curtis must marry, pointing out that he didn't even have a girlfriend, Chloe stood awkwardly beside the Archduke during this tense exchange. Suddenly, Curtis claimed he could not marry the Duchess because he had already promised to wed another woman. The king expressed disbelief, prompting Curtis to introduce Chloe as the love of his life, who had recently entered his world. Chloe, who had long fantasized about punching the Archduke or making him bow down just once, found her life completely transformed by the day's events. Chloe was confused when the Duke asked if she thought about cutting her hair. Later, a fellow soldier explained why her tied-up hair was good. If her hair had been down, something would have been cut off right away. When Chloe thought they meant her hair would be cut, The soldier said no. It would have been her neck. This was because the Archduke was a perfectionist in the extreme. He always worked late, made her work late too, and forced her to redo things if they weren't perfect. But now everything had changed. She realized she might finally make him bow to her. When Curtis announced they were together, Chloe knew something was wrong. The party invite had been strange, but this was crazy. She thought she needed to fix this quickly before it all went bad. When she tried to talk to the king, the Archduke stepped on her foot. He tried to tell her with his eyes that he would explain later. When she didn't understand, he held her hand and squeezed it, promising her a promotion, bonuses, special rights, paid time off, better pay, and anything else she wanted. Someone might wonder why the Archduke was so desperate to marry her. Was it love? Chloe wondered briefly. But no, not a chance. There was a rule in the Ivan's Empire about nobles marrying common people. Simply put, if an archduke married a commoner, he would become a commoner too and lose his right to the throne. To keep his position, he had to marry another noble. The archduke didn't seem to like any available nobles. If he married the Duchess of Glintland, it would make the two nations closer, which the king wanted. The archduke had two bad choices: be sent to marry in a foreign land, or marry a commoner and lose his royal rights. This is where Chloe became useful. Even though her family was very poor, they were lesser nobles. If he married her, he could keep his status while avoiding the Duchess. She couldn't easily say no to the Archduke, and even if they got married, he could divorce her later. She knew he would never fall in love with someone like her. The Archduke knew she needed money badly. Her brother and sister would go hungry without her help, so Chloe made her choice. She agreed with the Archduke in front of the king. She told everyone that the Archduke had asked her to marry him. She put on a fake sweet act with the Duke in front of the king. She agreed to get married in front of everyone. Even before the ceremony, the Duke had been discussing the marriage with his Second Lieutenant Noel, his closest aide. Curtis was born to the King of Avance and Princess Mildred of Glintland. His mother was an exceptionally smart and wise woman who had requested that her child hold titles from both nations so he wouldn't be caught in political strife and die. Thanks to her insistence, Curtis was granted dual titles. The problem wasn't just that Curtis was extremely handsome, but that he was also incredibly intelligent and talented. Though he joined the military to fulfill his duty as second son, as long as he remained the Archduke of Berg, his claim to the throne stayed valid. This made the king very uneasy. Even as the king's half-brother and second son, Curtis showed no interest in the throne and chose a military career instead. But he had a natural talent for being a soldier, much like the most praised historical kings of Avernus. The king was far from a conqueror, and his son, Crown Prince Frederick, was popular for his kind nature, but wasn't the type to excel on the battlefield either. The people thought the Duke would be the best fit as king, which caused jealousy in the king. This was why the king wanted the Archduke to marry the Duchess of Glintland. Noel never expected that the king would try to send Curtis off to Glintland before the prince could take the throne. He asked if Curtis wanted to marry someone who already admired him, like Arya from the Navy. But Curtis said he already had someone in mind, though he didn't know how she would react to his proposal or how much she would cooperate. Noel thought that whoever that girl was, she was truly pitiful. That poor girl was none other than Chloe, who was now returning the brooch to the Duke. Curtis told her he hadn't expected her to play along with him in that situation. Chloe was shocked by her own talent for acting when she lied to the king about loving the Duke. Even when the king warned her that lying to him was nearly treason and asked why they'd kept their relationship secret, Chloe was quick to respond. She told him she had intended to reject the proposal because the Duke was her superior, and she thought maybe he was just teasing her. But now she was moved by his proposal in front of the king and realized he was serious, so she accepted. The king still didn't believe them, but Chloe had one more card to play. The brooch. She said it was proof, a token she had received from the Duke when he proposed. The crest of the Berg family was engraved on the back. This caused whispers from the crowd, forcing the king to wrap things up quickly without ruining the mood of the ceremony. The king knew he had lost his chance to marry off the duke and agreed to their union. Back at the house, Chloe asked what the duke's plan was and how they would move forward. Curtis admitted his original plan wasn't marriage. He just wanted to ask her to pretend to be lovers for a while. He thanked her for covering for him, but Chloe said that after all she had been through, she deserved to get something out of it. Right now, she was the one who could help the Archduke, so he would do anything she asked. Her first request was that he kneel before her. The Archduke looked confused about why he should kneel before her. Then his expression changed, as if he suddenly understood, and he agreed. Chloe was shocked at how easily he agreed. He said he understood what she meant, that he had missed a crucial step and forgotten something important. Slowly, he retrieved a box from the drawer. The box contained the ring that was given to his mother by the late king when she received her proposal. The Duke got down on one knee before Chloe and asked her to marry him. Chloe stood frozen in shock as the Duke knelt before her, holding out the gleaming ring. The legendary spark of divinity caught the light, its value beyond measure. Curtis explained with unexpected warmth that since they were to be married, a proper proposal shouldn't be absent. He believed she might appreciate romantic gestures and asked if this would suffice. Disgust crossed Chloe's face as she declared the situation gross and burdensome. Confusion flashed across the Duke's handsome features as he questioned her intent in asking him to kneel. Chloe clarified that she had meant for him to literally kneel down in the manner of his own punishments, not to propose marriage. Disbelief filled his eyes, yet she remained steadfast in her demand. Curtis froze, his expression hardening as he questioned her motive for ordering him around. Chloe reminded him of his past treatment toward her, pointing out that he had blocked her chance for marriage by involving her in this charade. She emphasized that he now needed her permission regardless of circumstances. When the Duke offered financial compensation, Chloe acknowledged this as expected, but quickly highlighted a deeper concern. Her family had suddenly become the focal point of noble attention. Their marriage wouldn't solely affect her. Her family members would face constant criticism for failing to meet his exalted standards. With 3 siblings still in school, his actions had thrust them all into an unforeseen predicament. Despite the prospect of immense wealth, she had never wanted this arrangement. Yet the situation had progressed to where marriage with him had become inevitable. Gratitude softened Curtis's gaze as he promised to address her family's concerns and any other issues that might arise. Chloe pressed further, stating her desire to be the superior party in their contract, hence her demand that he kneel. The Duke sought clarification, asking if she wanted him to demonstrate her superiority through this act. A moment of doubt crossed Chloe's mind as she considered whether she had overstepped. Surprisingly, the Duke expressed complete understanding of her position. He warned that she would eventually pay heavily for making him do this, then lowered himself to one knee before her. Astonishment filled Chloe as she witnessed the proud Archduke actually kneeling at her command. She quickly told him to rise, stating she had witnessed his determination. As he stood, he smiled with satisfaction, declaring her precisely the partner he desired. When Chloe questioned if this was due to her deal-making abilities, he emphasized her understanding of his words. He expressed concern that she not be sacrificed because of their arrangement. Once more taking the ring, he proposed that she use him during their marriage, suggesting that while she couldn't own his soul, she could be his temporary owner. Chloe cringed at the strange phrasing that made him sound like a dog seeking a master. Despite her reaction, she accepted his proposal. Reality struck her as he slipped the ring onto her finger. She was truly engaged. The Duke's announcement that there was something else to do, followed by his removal of his coat, caused Chloe to cry out in alarm. She protested that despite their engagement, they remained a business couple, questioning why he was disrobing. Laughter burst from Curtis as he explained that her engagement meant an end to overtime pay. He directed her to retrieve her pen and begin scheduling the annual training for the soldiers. Throughout the barracks, Chloe's fellow soldiers gossiped about the unexpected engagement. Some speculated that her constant overtime work and secret portrait drawings of the Duke had revealed her hidden feelings. Others noted how she had pierced those same portraits, perhaps frustrated by his lack of attention. At Chloe's modest home, her siblings received the news with shock and disbelief. Just days earlier, she had been disparaging the Duke. Her sister accused her of selling herself for money, an assertion Chloe didn't deny. When questioned about her sanity in agreeing to such an arrangement, Chloe silenced her sister with a stern reminder of respect due to an older sibling. Her sister's inquiry about the wedding timeline brought the surprising answer: 7 days. Not the 7 months the sister had assumed, but a mere week away. As Chloe confirmed this impossible timeline, her sister wondered if she had truly lost her mind. Somewhere in the shadows, unseen eyes scrutinized Chloe Ambroise's personal information, suggesting that not everyone viewed this sudden engagement with benign interest. The royal guard's burden, the prenuptial agreement, news of the unexpected engagement between Archduke Curtis Shanberg and Second Lieutenant Chloe Ambroise had spread throughout the kingdom. The newspapers recounted how Chloe had behaved with the Duke in front of the king, describing their apparent affection in elaborate detail. Prince Frederick's public support of the decision was prominently featured, adding royal endorsement to the unexpected union. King Ivanez visited the Duchess of Glintland at the palace, lamenting how reckless his brother and son had been. The Duchess apologized for causing disorder within the royal family, but the king countered that he should be the one apologizing for the royal family openly disregarding national interests. With calculated words, the Duchess suggested this development might actually benefit the royal family, as the people would now place more trust in the king rather than someone who neglected the nation's interests in pursuit of personal gain. The king's demeanor shifted at this flattery. He acknowledged that while the engagement was official and they could no longer interfere directly, romance could end just as easily as it began. Before departing, he invited the Duchess to extend her stay, which she accepted with a gracious reply about it being an honor. The moment the king left, however, the Duchess's composed facade crumbled. She threw a violent tantrum, raging that she had traveled all this way without even getting the chance to meet the Duke before his wedding. Despite her frustration, she refused to admit defeat, declaring to her attendants that she wouldn't give up until it was truly over. With calculated spite, she instructed them to send one of the exquisite vases she had brought as dowry to the Grand Duke as a wedding gift. At the Grand Duke's residence, Chloe visited Curtis in his office, where Lieutenant Noel was also present. Curtis inquired about her family's move to their new accommodations. Chloe reflected silently that her family had taken to their new luxurious living situation quite well, considering it heavenly compared to their previous modest home. Noel, ever practical, suggested they proceed with the next steps toward becoming a married couple by drafting their prenuptial agreement. The three sat down to formalize the terms that would govern this contractual marriage. Chloe presented her first condition: no overtime work during the contract period. The Duke immediately refused, his response automatic. Chloe asked him to hear her reasoning first, explaining that this wasn't merely for her benefit, but for his reputation as well. She questioned whether he wanted to be remembered as a cold-hearted husband who forced his wife to work overtime. Curtis responded with characteristic bluntness that he was already remembered as a cold-hearted boss, making overtime unavoidable. He added that she would need to perform her duties as Grand Duchess around the clock, including attending banquets and handling major responsibilities. Chloe froze at this realization, asking if those duties would also be considered overtime. After a moment's consideration, Curtis clarified that the no overtime clause would only apply to her duties as Royal Guard Lieutenant. He approved this first condition with that amendment, adding that they should consult with a military law office to determine if she could even remain his adjutant after their marriage. Noel commented wryly that this shouldn't be a problem, as no one else would willingly work under the Duke anyway. Chloe's second condition specified a separate contract bonus of 1 million gold and a 400% salary increase. The Duke agreed to the contract bonus but denied the salary increase, explaining that since her salary came from the national treasury rather than his personal funds, such a dramatic increase would arouse the king's suspicion. As an alternative, he offered to personally provide her with 10 million gold per year. Her final condition was that the Duke must always obey her. Curtis's expression darkened with irritation. Chloe insisted she wanted this in writing, that he must show her respect and accept her requests unconditionally. She justified this demand by pointing out that if their arrangement went wrong, she and her family would face far greater danger than he would, so he must prioritize her interests over his own. After a tense moment, Curtis reluctantly accepted this condition. The Duke then presented his own terms. His first condition stated that from the moment Chloe took the Berg name, she must fulfill all associated duties to the best of her ability. Chloe accepted this easily, seeing it as a reasonable expectation. His second condition required Chloe to acknowledge that their relationship was purely contractual, and she agreed not to interfere in Curtis's romantic affairs during the contract period. Surprised, Chloe asked if he intended to date other women while married to her. Curtis seemed puzzled by her reaction, asking why she found this surprising since they wouldn't stay together forever. He questioned whether she harbored romantic feelings for him, a suggestion that made Chloe flustered. She stammered that she simply found it strange that he would date someone while being married to her, the concept of their arrangement suddenly becoming more real and complex than she had anticipated. This is not the end. The tale of Chloe and Curtis has only just begun. What happens when their contractual marriage faces the scrutiny of the kingdom? Will the Duchess of Glintland accept defeat so easily? And how will Chloe navigate her new role as Grand Duchess while maintaining her position in the royal guard? The next chapters of Kneel Your Grace will be posted soon on our YouTube channel. And have you checked out our shorts? We've already released exciting snippets from Chloe and Curtis's story on our channel. Watch them now to get exclusive glimpses of what's to come. Subscribe now and hit the notification bell to be the first to know when the next part drops. Comment below with your predictions for what happens next.